Hiya, my name is Poke King, but you can just call me King, and today we're doing something different. In celebration of the Mario Kart Booster Course Pass being completed, I figured it would be great to rank every single course from worst to best. Now with that being said, this video will contain opinions, so if one of your favorite courses ends up in the bottom, I'm sorry, but I also don't really give a fuck. This is also just for fun anyways, but as always, the comments are open so you can tell me if my opinions are good or if I'm wrong or I'm stupid. To give you some background of my experience and relationship with Mario Kart, I just want to say that I have played in online and local tournaments a whole lot for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so I think a lot of these tracks might bring out my bias if I find them frustrating to encounter in tournaments. The worst course on this list is 100% based on frustration bias, so you at least know where I'm coming from a bit here. This is also going to be a huge undertaking because there is almost 100 tracks in this game now, but I'm still gonna do it. So let's get them ranked, baby. Number 96, Baby Park. I know I'm gonna get flamed for this, but frankly, I don't give a shit. Baby Park is my personal hell. It's just a clusterfuck of a track every time. I feel like if you come in first in Baby Park, it's solely based on your item RNG. There is no strategy, no skill, no nothing that can help you when you enter Baby Park. And I know that's why some people like it, but good Arceus, I cannot tell you how fucking infuriating it is to be doing really good in your tournament or online match, and then suddenly some masochist picks this wretched course, and then I get absolutely fucked and end up in last place. It's just a hot mess, and I know lots of people like it for that, and that's how it's supposed to be, but I just can't stand it. I will give the Mario Kart 8 version this. It's not as bland and soulless as the one they remade on the DS, but still, what is this? And you all can go ahead and tell me how this is a skill issue in the comments all you want. This track is the bane of my existence. Number 95, Toad Circuit. Why in the fresh hell was this track remade for the DLC? This is the most uninspired, lame, and ridiculous track. Also, Toad is my least favorite Mario character, like bordering on hatred. The only thing that redeems him for me is how he was portrayed in the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, like the 80s cartoon, because he has some actual personality in there. But every other iteration of him is bland as fuck. Not to mention, every time I play Mario Kart with my besties, all of them either fight over Toad or all choose him. Why? What is the appeal of this mushroom-headed fuck? Anyways, Toad Circuit has the same bland personality of Toad and showcases it with a very boring track layout and one single glider ramp that honestly just doesn't add anything to the track anyways. This track could have been Airship Fortress, it could have been Luigi's Mansion, or one of the Woohoo courses, or even Dino Jungle, or GameCube Rainbow Road, or literally anything else, but no, it's just Toads standing there. Menacingly. Number 94, SNES Mario Circuit 3. Why is this in this game? Who at Nintendo saw this boring ass track and thought, oh, let's put this in our DLC, the kids will love it. This track is worthless. No, but for real, I don't know if maybe they just needed to check off a box that included a certain amount of SNES tracks in here. I'm not sure, but they did literally nothing to enhance this track. There is one single boost in the entire thing, and the rest is just road and colorful blocks. Like, look at Donut Plains 3, for example. That was a SNES track, but the remake of it is almost like a completely new track, while still keeping the theme and charm of the original. What precisely were they thinking making a track like this? Like, add something, anything. I would have literally accepted giant Toad balloons at this point. This track is just boring and could have been at least a little enhanced to match up with some of the other modern tracks in this game. This is lame as fuck. Moving on. Number 93, Dolphin Shoals. So, like Baby Park, this one also has a bit of a story. I've always tried to 100% complete Mario Kart games. They are probably some of the only games that I do go out of my way to 100% complete. And Mario Kart 8 was no different. One of the things that has to be done in order to 100% this game is beat every single 150cc staff ghost. So I was doing this pretty effortlessly until I got to Wendy in Dolphin Shoals. Holy fuck. I do not know what this staff ghost was on, but it seemed like no matter what I did, no matter what cart combination I picked, no matter which way I went, I would just lose this one. over and over again. I played this course so many times that still, to this day, Mario Kart has it listed as my favorite course. And I haven't sat down and played Dolphin Shoals in at least a year at this point. So that really puts this into perspective. This course is this low because of bias, because the track itself is fine and the music is honestly some top tier stuff, but I just can't bring myself to rank this higher. Dolphin Shoals deserves nothing.
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
Number 92, Mario Kart Stadium. This is another entry in the boring category. While I understand this is just a starter course and it does that job very well, it is incredibly boring and simple. There is some fun to be had with the anti-gravity section, but it's almost not even worth it because it's over so quickly and doesn't do anything interesting with the gimmick either. It's a fine starter course, but nothing beyond that. Number 91, GBA Mario Circuit. While this remake did something very cool with holding up part of the track with Ultra hands, outside of that, it's pretty uneventful. It's just another Mario Circuit track complete with gray road, some turns, maybe a boost here and there, and colored blocks in the background. The anti-gravity section is about as eventful as the Mario Kart Stadium one, but it's ranked a bit higher because it's a little bit more innovative here. Number 90, SNES Rainbow Road. The more I play this track, the more boring it gets. While I think the track itself looks pretty, the way the thwomps make the road wavy so you can trick off of them is neat, and the thin pathways and sharp turns make for some challenge. Similar to GBA Mario Circuit, it just feels like it doesn't bring enough to the table to really hold its own against a lot of the other tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now, get ready for a fuck ton of tour tracks next. Number 89, Berlin Byways. This is, in my opinion, the worst one of the city tour tracks. It is just so darn forgettable. Like, I had to play this track again to make this list, and when I finished it, I literally couldn't remember anything that happened in it. There are, of course, a lot of interesting landmarks that you will drive past, but the background elements don't redeem this track enough for me. I'm ready to just forget about it again. Number 88, London Loop. Similar to Berlin Byways, this track is just a very generic, forgettable city track. Again, I really like finding the landmarks and driving past them, but the actual track design isn't very interactive. A lot of the other tour tracks on this list have you driving right into the action and interconnected parts of the city and world. For me, this one makes me feel like more of an outsider looking in, if anything. Number 87, Paris Promenade. This track is super pretty and I enjoy a lot of the aesthetics. The main draw of this course being driving under the Eiffel Tower, which I think was wonderfully executed. The only problem is that that's pretty much all you do. Everything else in this track is very simplified and doesn't do much outside of giving you a couple of ramps and some turns you can drift on. Number 86, New York Minute. I don't know what I can say about this track that I haven't said about the previous tour tracks. While I do really like the music and the look of this track with the Times Square imagery rushing through Central Park and going underground in the last lap, I do think that this is another city tour track that is on the simpler side, and I feel it could have been a bit more creative. But I also understand that this is the first city track from tour that they ported over to this game, so I'm giving it a slight pass. Number 85, Los Angeles Loops. The third half of this track is so weird with the oil fields. I just had to say it. Like, how are you going to make a track based on LA and not have a section driving through Hollywood or something? That's so weird. But anyways, Los Angeles Loops is a pretty okay course. I like the different locales that you go through in the laps, like the beach and the shops and the oil fields, I guess. It has enough interactiveness to keep me entertained. Number 84, Bangkok Rush. Finally, a better than mid-city tour track. Bangkok Rush is a lot of fun from beginning to end. Rushing through the water and jumping over the boats is really cool, and all the alternate routes that you can take up the stairs and on the train tracks is a lot of fun and adds replayability to the course, trying to figure out what paths are the fastest and easiest to take. If I could just say one thing bad about Bangkok Rush, it would be that it's a little bit confusing. I always felt like I was getting lost or going the wrong way on this course just because the flow isn't really all there. Number 83, Bone Dry Ruins. A pretty okay desert track that tries to do something different. Whether it succeeds with it or not is up to you. The track is pretty flat outside of some ramps and skeleton piranha plants that try to attack you when you're passing by, but it does add an anti-gravity section near the end that actually takes longer to go through than just driving on the normal road. Alright then. Number 87, Athens Dash. This one is a little bit higher on the list than the other city tour tracks because I think its use of the stage design is very well done. Instead of having things in the background, you can actually drive on some parts of it, like the ruins on the sides, and they can also be used to trick off of. This little detail makes the whole track so much more lively and immersive. Number 81, Sydney Sprint. This track always makes me think of Finding Nemo, and I love it for that. They really went all out with this city track, taking you through the opera house on multiple laps and making it flow really nice with the rest of the track, and tricking over the multiple ramps on the bridge is super exhilarating. Number 80, Sunset Wilds. One of the more basic layout courses, but I think that they did a great job remaking it. While I do agree with most that say that it sucks that they took out the shift from sunset to nightfall that the original and also the tour remake had, I still think that this is a solid track overall. I like the Shy Guys who dance and chill out in the middle of the road, as well as the hills in the end of the track, which gaining a speed boost from and tricking off of them has saved me more than a few times when I am falling behind on the last lap. Number 79, Sky Gardens. A very divisive course from what I've heard. Sky Gardens completely changes the look and feel from the original, and I think the remake does a really good job keeping the theme while changing a lot. You really do get the sense that you're driving in the clouds with roads being held up by giant vines. It's a blast to play, but kind of on the short side. I feel like it's missing some wow factor that would really sell this track for me. Number 78, Shroom Ridge. I was so excited to see this classic DS track come back, but something feels a bit off with this remake. While the original track also felt a bit empty, for some reason I feel like this version feels even more empty. I do really like the new fan shortcut near the end and the ramp that's in the grass as well, as I feel like it adds more liveliness to this track, but I still feel like something is missing and I can't really explain it. A solid course overall though. Number 77, Ice Ice Outpost. This course wouldn't be this high on my list if I didn't like drifting as much as I do. The track is based off of one gimmick. There are two different pathways going through the entire track, and you have to find out which route and combinations of routes will be the best for you to snag that victory. I do really enjoy drifting around the track and falling from one part to the other just to see if I can keep my drift lasting longer, and the varying track layout does add replayability to this one as well. Number 76, Rome Avante. One of the more pretty city tour tracks, Rome Avante will have you driving through lots of interesting locales, and the flow of the track is really good in my opinion. It really makes you feel like you're going on an adventure, and you can even glide over the Trevi fountain in the last lap. This track just feels very much more fleshed out than some of the other tour tracks, and I really enjoy the look and feel of driving around in it. Number 75, Tokyo Blur. The reason this city tour track is so high on this list is because I feel like it's one of the only ones that actually feels and plays like a proper racetrack. While it is on the more simpler side in design, it is a blast to zip through and a good time all around. Number 74, Amsterdam Drift. Wowie, this track is epic. They really went hard on this city tour track. The track design is very well done, it flows very nicely, and I love the water sections a lot, and they felt very natural to add in here. Not to mention the beautiful flowers that you drive past as well. Unfortunately, it is still just a tour track and falls in line with a lot of the other ones, but I think it does enough to stand out. Number 73, Toad's Turnpike. This is lower on my list for a few main reasons. One, it does the same thing Bone Dry Ruins does, where you have the option to use the wall and anti-gravity to pass some of the traffic, but it is slower to use this route than just being good at dodging the cars. Speaking of which, my second issue is that the cars are barely an obstacle to begin with. In the original, hitting a car or truck would send you flying into the air, and they were much harder to avoid. Here, you just kind of steer decently and you're fine. Other than that though, the track is alright and the music is really good too. Number 72, Madrid Drive. Another really fun city tour track. The locales and visuals of this track are amazing. I absolutely love driving around the paintings in the art museum, along with the piranha plant that is coming out of one of them, and then of course the soccer stadium with the Goomba shoes kicking around the soccer balls. This track is just oozing with personality. Number 71, Singapore Speedway. This track really pulled out all the stops when it comes to design and locales. Every piece of it looks beautiful, and the music is just amazing as well. Every lap brings you to different places, but they all seem to go together and flow just right. From the water fountains to the gliding parts to the pool with the Goombas floating around, this entire course just has immaculate immaculate vibes. Number 70, Vancouver Velocity. This is 100% my Canadian bias talking here, but good lord is it ever so cool to see some Canadian representation in one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. They really nailed the vibe of Canada in this track, from the northern lights being up above to the string lights dotting around the bridges. Heck, I know the snow is kind of a cliche, but it works so well with this track, so I'll give it a pass. And the best part of this track for me is driving through the hockey arena at the end of the second and last lap. I love seeing the Shy Guys skating by and the crowd cheering them on so much. They really captured what it is like to go to a hockey game in Canada in this brief moment. This course just gives me the warm fuzzies. Number 69, Snowland. Can I just say the music for this track is some stellar stuff? It really takes me back to when I was younger, and as soon as the first snowfall hit, I was at my best friend's house sledding in her backyard. Nostalgia aside, this track is just a good time, and I love how it looks and plays even with it being on the more simpler side. Number 68, DS Mario Circuit. I, like most, was a little iffy when it came to this track because it is yet another Mario Circuit track in a game that has like 4, but I actually like the things that they added to revamp it, especially the Wiggler Forest area. Just this little addition to the track gave it so much more personality. I still think they should have remade the 3DS Mario Circuit, but this one is okay. Number 67, Yoshi Circuit. One of the most remade tracks ever, Yoshi Circuit takes place on an island that is shaped like Yoshi. One of the shortcuts have been removed, but outside of that, it's pretty faithful to the original. The music is amazing as you'd expect, and the turns and drifts are really satisfying to pull off. Another solid track overall. Number 66, Dry Dry Desert. One of the more interesting desert tracks, Dry Dry Desert's main draw has to be the oasis that they added at the end. I think this was such a nice touch to really help differentiate it from the other boring desert tracks. I'm looking at you, Bone Dry Ruins. And while it is sad that they took out the giant piranha plant that eats you if you fall into the quicksand, one thing I love is that the Pokies bend to the side so that you can drive under them, which doesn't really enhance the gameplay, but it makes you feel like a badass when you pull it off. Number 65, Neo Bowser City. Not sure if I should count this as a Bowser's Castle course, but I think that it's an interesting take on the Spiky Lad's properties. The rain effects really help set the mood for this track, and driving around and drifting on all the sharp turns and edges is a lot of fun. Plus, the anti-gravity section where you want to try to hit as many boosts as you can at the end is a lot of fun too. Number 64, Royal Raceway. This used to be my favorite track on the N64, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version does not disappoint. Well, at least not a lot. It is very sad that you can no longer drive up to Peach's castle like you could in the original, but I understand that that adds nothing to the gameplay anyways, so I have let it go. The entire track is just a blast to run through, with lots of really driftable turns at the beginning to a giant boost ramp in the middle and the tight turns at the end. A good royal time all around. Number 63, Excite Bike Arena. It's crazy that this track even exists at all. I would have never thought that we would be getting an Excite Bike track of all things, and it works surprisingly well. I like how the ramps and mud piles do change every time you play, and going over those ramps in 200cc is nothing but a wild ride. This track really does showcase some of Nintendo's more creative ideas, and sometimes I wish we got more of those. Number 62, Rainbow Road. Yes, the Mario Kart 8 version of Rainbow Road is the second worst Rainbow Road on this list. While I have grown to appreciate the space station aesthetic of this one, I can't help but just feel a bit bored while playing it, as I always like the more whimsical outer space adventures some of the other Rainbow Roads took us on. But it is ranked higher on this list because I like the theming enough, and I think that they stuck to the theme very well, not to mention the awesome shortcuts that you can pull off near the end too. Number 61, Daisy Circuit. A lot of people might get mad that this is ranked low to mid on my list, but I have honestly never been a huge fan of Daisy Circuit. The only interesting things about this course are the shortcut through the one building, which I think was enhanced with the glider ramp in this version, and that you can drive on the sidewalk in the last bit. But that feels kind of weird to do in this version for some reason. Other than that, it's a pretty basic circuit track with some turns and some nice visuals, but not much outside of that. Number 60, Riverside Park. This course is the definition of a glow up. Everything from the music to the visuals to the track design is just turned up to an 11 from the original. I really love the cave section where you trick out from under a waterfall right before the finish line. The only thing holding this course back for me is how short it is. Though I understand that coming from a GBA course, I feel like they could have added a couple of extra parts to it just to stretch out the runtime a little bit more. It is still a blast to play though overall. Number 59, Mario Circuit. Another track ranked higher than I think most would put it, simply because of the drifts. Oh my god, the amount of purple sparks you can get on this track is insane. And really seeing how long you can hold the drifts and optimize your boost is so fun. Plus, I love using mushrooms to cut corners in this one. Not to mention, it actually utilizes the anti-gravity in an interesting way, with the track completely flipping in the second half. Number 58, Toad Harbor. One of the better Toad themed tracks, although it does fall victim to the slow ass gravity wall like some of the other courses on this list. This is a very interesting and intricate course. You could take a shortcut by jumping over a boat with some boosts, choosing between hopping across some tents or driving on the road underneath, and then have some splitting paths that you can choose from there. And the last bit has you speeding down a hill with boosts and trains coming in as obstacles. Everything you do in this track has to be planned out to some extent, and I kind of like that. Number 57, GameCube Sherbetland. Probably one of my favorite Sherbetlands in the whole series, GameCube Sherbetland is the perfect mix of challenge and fun. And the 8 Deluxe remake even adds some features like dipping into the water through breaks in the ice, which is a lot of fun. And who doesn't love the ice skating Shy Guys? I mean, come on. Number 56, Thwomp Ruins. What an interesting way to make a track centered around thwomps. I love the entire theme of this course so much, from the textures to the ruins themselves and even the music. Everything in this track just works together so well and really helps flesh out more of the Mario universe. Number 55, Grumble Volcano. The Wii tracks really were out there with some of their ideas, and this is no exception. The way the parts of the track fall as the race goes on is such a great idea, and it really helps gradually increase the challenge, along with the fire you have to avoid as it falls from the goddamn sky. Number 54, Daisy Cruiser. This track really shined in its remake in Mario Kart 7, and a lot of the changes come back in this version as well, like the ability to drive through the pool and flooding the engine room too. While it is a bit on the shorter side, I think that it really captures the feeling of racing around a boat, and it also kind of reminds me of that one Black Ops 2 map with the yacht, but anyways. Number 53, Sunshine Airport. I've only ever been to an airport a handful of times in my life, but I can safely say this is the most fun I've ever had at an airport. Driving across the runways and taking some paths through the planes is always a good time, and the section where you're flying in the air and then landing on the runway to do it all over again always makes me smile. Number 52, Super Bell Subway. This one is kind of on the same level as Sunshine Airport for me because I think that they both have similar concepts. Take something that is otherwise a nightmare to deal with in real life and make it super fun and fast paced. Super Bell Subway has you driving along subway cars and through a subway station. It's really cool to zip through all the locations, and there are multiple paths to take in the subway tunnels, which allows for some strategy and replayability. Number 51, SNES Bowser Castle 3. I was surprised when we didn't get a SNES Bowser's Castle in this game originally, but I'm so glad that the DLC came with one. The way this track is translated into Mario Kart 8 is nothing but amazing, with the anti-gravity, lifting paths, and even the ability to trick off womps at the end. If I had one complaint, it would be the one turn midway through the track. There's a castle entrance in the background that really confused me multiple times while I was playing this, and I can't tell you how many times I accidentally drove off the cliff thinking that you were supposed to go that way. But besides that, it's great. Number 50, Sky High Sunday. Now, this is a great track with very creative aspects to it with lovely music, and it is a blast to play through, but I cannot rank this track any higher than this because it has a very big flaw. While driving across these blue platforms at the end, if you get hit with a lightning bolt at all here, you cannot clear the gap between them, and you will fall every single time while you are shrunk. And for some reason, you get hit with lightning bolts almost all of the time here. I don't know why they don't patch this. This doesn't happen in any other course. If you're shrunk with a lightning bolt, you should still be able to continue to drive and clear gaps. Even the boosts used to clear other gaps in other levels change a bit to accommodate you when you're shrunk. I don't know why this one part just doesn't work, and it can be really annoying. Number 49, Mute City. I'm gonna maybe make some hardcore gamers mad here, but I have never played an F-Zero game in my life. I think that is why this and the next track on this list aren't ranked super high, simply because I don't think I appreciate them like others can. But I will say that this track is a whole lot of fun to zip around. Hitting all the boosts and trying to go as fast as you can is really exhilarating and adds some challenge to the course as well. Number 48, Big Blue. Just like Mute City, going into this track as somebody who has never played F-Zero, I will say that this track is a lot of fun. Again, I love that you are encouraged to try and hit as many boosts as you can, and the different sections sections of the track all have you really trying to optimize your speed with the moving conveyor belts and the rushing water. This track in 200cc is absolutely wild as well. Number 47, Merry Mountain. A Christmas-themed Mario Kart track was not on my booster course bingo card, but it is a great addition to the tracks. The entire atmosphere reminds me of classic Christmas movies like Frosty and Rudolph, and the music is so cheery and festive. I love the sleigh flying around in the background and the different paths we can take up the railroad tracks, as well as speeding up and down the snowy mountain. Number 46, Mount Wario. Another snow level, but this one takes us to a lot of interesting locales. We start at a summit, making our way through an icy cave with a glider section and rushing water, moving into a dam, and then driving on the wall trying to catch boosts off a waterfall, into a snowy forest, and then speeding down a ski hill. There is literally nothing this track doesn't cover, and it blends it all together so nicely. Number 45, Waluigi Stadium. One of the best stadium tracks based off of one of the best Mario characters. Waluigi Stadium is a lot of fun in this 8 Deluxe remake, and I like how they kept the half pipes from Wii and just updated them to be anti-gravity to fit the current game. The music bangs, the track layout bangs, the piranha plants bang, Waluigi bangs, it all bangs. Number 44, Piranha Plant Cove. I am running out of adjectives, but this is another fun track. I really like the tour tracks that allowed Nintendo to get really creative and make multiple different routes you take on each lap when they ported them over to 8 Deluxe. The mix between in-water and out-of-water sections make for a varying track layout that keeps the race engaging and interesting the whole way through, and yet it keeps the flow very nice as well. Number 43, Rosalina's Ice World. What a weird track to base off of Rosalina, but whatever. This track starts off with some of the sickest turns and drifts of all time in Mario Kart history. Outside of upgrading the graphics, this is the same awesome track that it was in Mario Kart 7, complete with the icy water section, which is enhanced with 200cc, and the icy cave with the boost. It even adds a little mushroom shortcut at the end as well, and it's just beautiful to look at. Number 42, Bowser's Castle. It was definitely hard for Nintendo to top Mario Kart 7's Bowser's Castle, but for me, I think 8 Deluxe might have done that. This Bowser's Castle feels like a combination of Wii's, 7's, and N64's all mixed together in a delicious Bowser Castle poutine. You have the castle interior from the N64 version with the sharp turns, the giant Bowser statue that you have to avoid from Wii, and the crazy lava section from Mario Kart 7. This has slowly become my favorite Bowser's Castle in the entire series, and it's well deserving of that title. Number 41, DK Summit. An absolute classic that was remade so well in 8 Deluxe. I still love how they kept the half pipes for a lot of the Wii tracks and just updated it to be anti-gravity. I think that was such a great choice, especially for this track, because that means that they also kept the snow piles and the skiing Shy Guys too. They did also change the cannon shot to be a gliding section, which honestly kind of bums me out a bit, but everything else was recreated to a T with a visual upgrade, and it keeps this track as classic as it can get. Number 40, Cheeseland. Okay, I know I'm gonna get absolutely destroyed here, but I actually do enjoy Cheeseland a lot. It is one of those retro tracks that was changed drastically from its original, but I think what Nintendo did with it was a lot of fun. Tricking off the cheese holes in the ground is always satisfying, and the last bit where you have to avoid chain chomps and can also take a few good mushroom shortcuts is really great too. Y'all can fight me in the comments, but I fucking love cheese. Number 39, Donut Plains 3. And here is another track that got changed drastically in the remake and ended up being fucking amazing. Donut Plains 3 is how they should have treated Mario Circuit 3. Give it a complete overhaul while keeping it consistent to the theming and vibe of the original. While Donut Plains 3 feels and plays like a brand new track, it keeps the same charm while upping the wow factor a ton. Number 38, DK Jungle. This track just screams Donkey Kong with every twist and turn. Unlike some of the other Donkey Kong themed tracks, this one really has the vibe of playing a Donkey Kong game, and I love it. The music is perfect, the locales are very fleshed out and flow nicely together, and the banana temple at the end connecting to the gliding section is good shit. Number 37, Moo Moo Meadows. This track is such a good sequel to Moo Moo Farms from the N64, and the remake brings even more to the table. You can trick off the Monty Mole holes, and there are even added glider ramps and boosts as well. Even though it's more on the simpler side, it's a really nostalgic track with a lot of charm. And cows. Number 36, Cloud Top Cruise. Taking inspiration from Gusty Garden and Sky Station from Mario Galaxy and turning it it into a bangin' course was such a no-brainer, and I am glad that Nintendo actually did it. Jumping from cloud to cloud and using some bouncy platforms to cut corners makes for such great gameplay. And then driving through an airship into a thunderstorm filled with boosts and lightning is so creative. And of course, the music is on point as always. Number 35, Shy Guy Falls. Hey, a course that actually uses anti-gravity in a unique and compelling way. Shy Guy Falls has you driving up and down a waterfall and through mountains and bridges connecting it all together. Driving up the waterfall is so much fun because you want to try to hit as many boosts as you can, and the anti-gravity works well here because when you miss a boost, you can actually feel your cart struggling to get up the falls and through the rushing current. And then at the end, you take a gliding ramp through a section where Shy Guys are singing along to the background music. Damn, I love this track. Number 34, Wario Stadium. For a long time, I actually didn't even know that this was based off of the DS Wario Stadium because of how much they changed this track and went buck-ass wild with it. Going through the mud and jumping through the fire rings with the boost is awesome. And then part of the track is twisted up on its side, and then half of it is flooded. Like, what? They did not need to go this hard for this track, but I am so glad that they did. Number 33, Rock Rock Mountain. For starters, this track has some of the best music in the game by far. The only thing keeping this course from being in the top 10 is the textures. It really has a lot of that tour look to it, where the textures are extremely simplified and bland. Like, this track looked amazing on the 3DS. How is Mario Kart 8's version somehow a downgrade? But anyways, driving through the caves, taking a huge jump off the grates, flying through a lush forest, and then back up the mountain to do it all over again is awesome. Number 32, Boo Lake. I love seeing the old Boo themed tracks always come back with a fire course, and this one is no exception. Making the track more broken and twisted really adds to the variety, and dipping half of it into the water was a no-brainer for 8 Deluxe. That last bit of the track where you're boosting off multiple broken pathways and out of the lake is just perfect. Number 31, Moonview Highway. I was so stoked to have this course back in 8 Deluxe, and overall, it's still a blast to play. The bomb cars are back, the shortcut over the hill is intact, and the billboards have all been revamped and updated. This track was always one that really immersed me, and this version is no different. Except for one issue, which is stopping this from being in my top 10. The cars have been slowed down drastically, similar to the ones in Shroom Ridge. In the original, the cars were really zooming every which way, as if they were actually on a highway, as the name implies. Here, they're just kind of chilling, which is a bit sad. Number 30, N64 Rainbow Road. I'm so glad that they made this 3 sections instead of one big lap because good fucking lord was the original a bit of a nightmare. But this remake is just a perfect upgrade of the first one. The fireworks in the sky look like actual fireworks now, and the road itself is enhanced with twists and turns and wavy parts for tricks. The ending also has a gliding section where you boost through star rings to get to the finish line. Number 29, Cheep Cheep Beach. One of the DS's greatest courses, Cheep Cheep Beach is jam-packed with places to go. You start on a boardwalk, make your way through the beach and water, which you can actually drive in this version, and then you go driving through a lush jungle. All this track really needed was a new coat of paint and the underwater driving added to it, and that is exactly what we got. Number 28, Choco Mountain. One of my favorite N64 tracks, and I think this remake really expands on it in all the best ways. Adding an expansion to the cave section is a great touch and gives Choco Mountain a bit of extra oomph. The rolling rocks also seem to be a bit more threatening as well, which adds to the challenge, and the textures look a lot more like chocolate than some of the other versions of this track. Also, this is the video game song I get stuck in my head the most. I don't know why, but it is so catchy and positive, and it puts me in a great mood every time I hear it. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Number 27, Calamari Desert. My actual favorite N64 track. Me and my best friend C would literally play on this track all the time and just go into the train tunnel and hop around for no reason at all. See, if you're watching this, the Bachelor's Cave for life. But anyways, this remake takes the track a step further and actually lets us go into the tunnel for one of the laps. Not sure if it's just the nostalgia talking or what, but I love this track and all the things that they added to it in this remake. Number 26, Sweet Sweet Canyon. Maybe this is just because Wreck-It Ralph is one of my favorite Disney movies ever, but I absolutely adore the concept for this track. All the textures are delicious, and the sweets used to make the track itself are perfectly planned out and constructed. I love that they even changed the water section to appear more like honey to stay on theme, and the donut mushroom shortcut is so satisfying to pull off. Number 25, Dragon Driftway. As someone whose favorite thing to do in this game is drift, it only makes sense for me to like this course as much as I do. You will be drifting and boosting the entire course, and these are some of the most satisfying drifts that you will pull off in the whole game. The flow of this track is unmatched, and the theming is as well. Designing a racetrack based off of dragons is insanely clever, and I hope that we get more of these clever ideas in the future. Number 24, Ninja Hideaway. This track is just screaming replayability. It gives you so many alternating paths and combinations of paths that you could go all 3 laps and still have not driven everywhere there is to offer. It is definitely one of the more confusing tracks in the game, but I think that works really well and allows you for lots of strategy, and taking some of the higher paths through the ceiling also adds a lot of risk and reward factors that we don't really see much in this game. One of the more surprising tracks that we got in the DLC, but a good surprise nonetheless. Number 23, High Roll Circuit. The only reason this isn't in the top 10 for me is because I'm not a huge Zelda fan. Not that I dislike Zelda by any means, I just didn't play many Zelda games growing up besides Twilight Princess and Phantom Hourglass. But I can't ignore how much love and care went into this track. From the absolute banging music to the vast environments you visit to the Master Sword Easter egg and the custom rupees replacing the coins, this track is just awesome to the max.
Awesome. Awesome to the max.
Number 22, TikTok Clock. I always like the Mario Kart tracks where you drive around a very recognizable place but are shrunk down, just like TikTok Clock. Driving over the clock faces and across the gears while dodging pendulums and the minute and hour hands is such a great time. And I always love the 2 gears right before the finish line that change from lap to lap, which one is turning with or against you. It adds a layer of strategy to the end of the race and sometimes lets you sneak a win right at the last second, which I love doing. Number 21, Peach Gardens. I was so excited to get this track back in 8 Deluxe, and I have to say I was not disappointed. If I had one thing bad to say about this track, it would be that it just seems a little bit easier than the DS and the Wii, just because a lot of the flower patches and the maze have been simplified drastically. But I still think everything else is beautifully done. And making you do the last lap backwards was something I didn't see coming, but it's freaking amazing, and I love it. Now we are getting into the Arceus tier tracks, so buckle in folks. This is about to get peak as fuck. Number 20, Mushroom Gorge. Just a fun fact with this one, me, my sister, and my cousins would always pick this course on the Wii and used to call it Mushroom George for no reason, but I still catch myself calling it this all the time, so that is what I'm going to refer to it moving forward. Mushroom George is such a fun track and used to be one of my favorites on the Wii. While I will say in future iterations of this track, it's lost some of its charm mainly in the mushroom jumping section in the cave because of the removal of some mushrooms and replacing it with a gliding mushroom, which makes it a bit easier, and just the overall bounciness of the mushrooms seem to be changed in this version as well, which puts it down the list a little bit for me. But it is still a great course and a lot of fun. Bouncing from mushroom to mushroom is still a good challenge, and the atmosphere and music is amazing. Number 19, Animal Crossing. Another track I can't believe actually exists. They managed to take everything that is charming and unique about Animal Crossing and put it in a compact, beautiful track. Obviously, the track has 4 different seasons that make it different each time, but just the things going on in the environments is a treat. Finding all the Animal Crossing characters you love pop up as cameos, and even Mr. Rossetti, who actually scared me so much as a kid that I stopped playing Animal Crossing for years, but that is a story for another time, replaces a Monty Mole in the last section. This track is everything I could have wanted from a crossover track, and I can't wait to see if Nintendo does more in the future. Number 18, Water Park. Oh boy, is this track just a treat to play. For some reason, this track always makes me think of the water park from the movie Grown Ups, which is like a comfort movie for me. Don't at me on that. But besides that, I think that they really nailed a water park themed level. For anti-gravity being introduced in this game, it for sure was utilized super well in this track, and it also incorporates underwater driving and glider sections too, which I know first made an appearance in Mario Kart 7, but goes so well with the anti-gravity sections in this level, and everything is just perfect. Another great original and creative idea from Nintendo. Number 17, Wild Woods. This exactly goes in hand with what I said about TikTok Clock. The tracks where you are shrunk down are so good. I love being able to drive on the tree branches and through little Shy Guy towns, rushing down logs filled with water while bouncing from leaf to leaf across more water just to do it all over again. This is another track that makes me feel so immersed, and it flows so well. Number 16, Yoshi Valley. If you like alternate paths, you are going to lose your fucking mind, because Yoshi Valley is the king of alternate paths. This was one that I always found weird on the N64 N64 because the game didn't even know what place you were in for the most part, but the remake fixes that problem and just looks more cohesive overall. You can play the track so many different ways to see which paths are the best to take, and a lot of the faster paths have a high risk and reward factor to them as well. I also love the giant Yoshi egg spinning around at the end too, and the little mushroom shortcut where you can snipe a victory. Also, blue shells are kind of broken on this track. They will just loop around a lot if they are used in a specific spot in the middle, and I love that. Number 15, Twisted Mansion. Maybe it's just because I have always been such a fan of the blue levels in every Mario game, or it's just because I'm emo, I don't know, but Twisted Mansion is amazing. Driving around its almost impossible architecture is wild, and I love how half of the mansion is just flooded for no reason, and no one ever questions it. And I think that really goes to show how good this track flows and goes with the theme and environment. And the music is just peak. It really feels like you're playing one of the ghost house levels in a Mario game. Number 14, Electr Drome. Probably the most bangin' course in the game. Making a track based off of electronic music was a slam dunk on Nintendo's part. From driving across the electric road where your car leaves pixelated dust, to drifting on synthetic guitar strings that actually play the notes you're on, to the screens with the Shy Guys and Koopas moshing, this level is just a great time, and I want to be at this rave in real life. Number 13, Wario's Gold Mine. While this track is supposed to be based off of a mine, I just see all these wavy turns and big dips and think roller coaster. Now, I actually have a huge fear of roller coasters in real life, but this track lets me have all the fun of being on a wacky ride without worrying about my safety, which is great. Replacing the minecarts with anti-gravity boosts is such a great idea and helps you use the minecart shortcut a bit more than in the original track. This is just high-speed fun at its bestest. Number 12, DK Mountain. Another classic I am so happy to see return in this game. Getting shot up to the top of a volcano and driving down the rocky surface and through winding jungle roads has never been more exciting. The bumps and curves in the mountain surface feel much more impactful than they did with the Wii remake, and the rocks that fall onto the road are sometimes quite hard to avoid. Making the bridge wavy at the end was a long time coming, and allows you to knock out a shit ton of boosts right before the finish line. The track stays being good as shit. Number 11, Piranha Plant Slide. Mario Kart 7 really did have some gems in there, and this track is no exception. This is another track that feels like a giant water park, with the playful colors and pipes to the rushing water slide at the end. This is another place I want to go in real life. Trying to stay in the water to maintain good speed as long as you can definitely adds a layer of challenge to this track. And the underwater section where you can access grates in the ceiling via floating on pipes that blow air is such a great layer being added here. As well as having a mushroom shortcut right at the end for that victory snipe. Number 10, Music Park. Mario Kart 7 hasn't let us down yet. This level is so fucking unique and I love it. Not only are there head-bopping piranha plants that dance with the music, not only is everything in the track made out of instruments, not only does it have some of the most satisfying drifts and tricks you can pull off in the entire game, not only does it have giant music notes that bounce around and have stupid cute smiling faces, but every instrument used to make the track is actually playable. When you drift down a piano key or trick off a tambourine, it actually plays the notes. How freaking fire is that? Number 9, Squeaky Clean Sprint. I love unique concepts for tracks. Yes, Daddy Nintendo, give us more. This track came out of absolutely nowhere, but it slaps so hard. Yet another track where you are shrunk down and you drive through a sink, over towels, into a bathtub with sponges as platforms and bath bombs you can trick off of. Then you are inside a drain full of treasures, only to come out and be on a soapy floor being blown around by a fan. Heck, you even glide over a toilet where you can trick off the spraying water coming out of it. This track just went absolutely hard for no reason at all, and I am so thankful it did. Number 8, Yoshi's Island. Someone at Nintendo went up to the 8 Deluxe track designers and said, "Hey, we need a Yoshi Island themed track." And the designers went, "Oh sure, let me just pop the fuck off for no reason." This track is absurdly amazing. From the classic Yoshi Island enemies scattered around, the amazing level locales all flowing together nicely, the secret shortcut you can get by hitting the question mark cloud, to the flower ring that you can trick through at the end. Heck, even the classic Yoshi Island level start chime goes when you start the race. It is everything I could have wanted and more. Number 7, Koopa Cape. My Wii bias is about to come out with these next few tracks, but I don't care. These
are all peak. Starting off with Koopa Cape. Like, for real, what is there not to love about this track? I know that the tunnel section has kind of been robbed of some of its initial charm since Mario Kart 7's remake, which removed the lightning things, but that is a small price to pay for the perfection that is Koopa Cape. This track puts me in a good mood every time, and out of all of the rushing water tracks, this one has the best rushing water section in my opinion, where you're going down a twisting river that's funneling into a giant underwater pipe. It's just immaculate vibes all around. Number 6, Maple Treeway. Fall is my favorite season, and Maple Treeway, it's just fall vibes all the time. First off, this track is absolutely gorgeous. The warm colors just make you feel so happy and cozy, and driving on the winding tree branches and leaves is an absolute treat. While I do miss the net at the end that you could trick off of in Wii, the gliding section is a perfect fit and a great way to extend this track into the modern series. I don't know what else needs to be said. Like, there are giant happy wigglers just trotting around and hanging out in this fall wonderland. What more could you want? Number 5, Coconut Mall.
You just got Coconut Mall.
What can I say that hasn't already been said about Coconut Mall? This track is the peakest of peak. Driving around a mall has always seemed like a great time in my mind every time I saw those cars that were on display around the holidays, and this track does not disappoint on that curiosity. Driving up and down the escalators that change each lap is great. Tricking off the fountains is great. The shortcut through the store is great. The stairs got much wider in this remake, which I think is great. The huge ramp at the end turning into a gliding ramp is great. The shy guys that can't drive in the parking lot, while annoying, are also great. This track is honestly too good for this world. We literally do not deserve it. Number 4, Wii Rainbow Road. I mean, it's Wii Rainbow Road. What more is there to say? This was the first Rainbow Road I actually got good at and used to always pick it when playing with my friends just to be a dick. Truly one of the greats. The winding roads, the half pipes, the holes in the middle of the track for no reason, the parts where you go flying through the Rainbow Sparkle Tunnel, the end where it splits off into 2 paths, both as hard to navigate as the last, the star bits covering the track in the sky, the music. Like, this track is a work of art, and I don't think I am in the minority here on this. I am so glad that this track made its much deserved return, and it's relatively unchanged from the original, and that's honestly perfect. Number 3, Waluigi Pinball. Again, what can I say? It's Waluigi Pinball. I can't even begin to explain how perfect this track is, so I thought I would bring in my friend Deleto to explain the absolute masterpiece of this track.
Yeah, so Waluigi Pinball. We all know Waluigi. We love him. We want him in Smash. Rest in peace. But hey, I think he might be in the next game. Waluigi Pinball is one of those tracks that brings in a lot of nostalgia. I mean, you've seen a lot of people in when the second booster DLC came out, everyone was so excited when Waluigi Pinball came out. Heck, I was even excited. Now, granted, yes, it is a remake of Mario Kart Tour version, which is it's a little mid. It doesn't have like that 3D Waluigi that they had back in DS and 7. But even then, it was still a good track to go on. It was a good track that you can go on Mario Kart DS, like I said, Mario Kart DS, Mario Kart 7. It's just a golden stage. And the music is just... Mario Kart is known for bops. Mario Kart is just straight up known for bops. But Waluigi Pinball is like top-notch bop alert next to Coconut Mall. Because Coconut Mall is also pretty good. So yeah, Waluigi Pinball S tier. Wow, Waluigi number 1.
So you may be wondering then, what tracks are even better than Waluigi Pinball? Well, number 2, Ribbon Road. This track is my absolute favorite track in the base game of 8 Deluxe, but it wasn't always. Some of the first times I encountered Ribbon Road, I just thought, oh yeah, it's a cool concept for a track, but I would play it maybe once in a blue moon. However, this track became my all-time favorite slowly but surely. For starters, this is another track where you race in a perfectly normal place, but you're shrunk down, and all the little details of this track are just crazy. Everything is based off of toys and ribbons, as the name implies. The Mecha Koopas are such a great touch, and the blocks that you can trick off of are great too. The colors are so well done and vibrant, and the music ties everything together. And my favorite part, the drifts. The drifts go so hard in this track. There are lots of places where you can just chain drifts together, and it's so good. Not to mention pulling off tricks on the wavy road is a great touch. Such a fun track with such a good premise. But there is one track that came out during the DLC that topped this one. And number 1, 3DS Rainbow Road. I'm an absolute sucker for outer space. As soon as I played this track in Mario Kart 7, I fell helplessly in love with it. And when I found out that they were remaking it in 8 Deluxe, oh boy, was I losing my shit. There is no other track that really captures the magic and wonder of Mario Kart better than this track. You start off driving on the Rainbow Road, hanging high in the starry galaxy. And then you move on to driving across the rings of Saturn and around other planets, only to land on the fucking moon and trick off of craters and avoid bouncing chain chomps, to move into a section with a giant spinning tube full of boosts where you can either boost or glide off the end, flying across ramps and star boosts, taking you all the way back to where you began. It is truly an experience going across this track. The music is spot on, the backgrounds are stunning, the track itself is beautiful, and the turns feel nice. The drifts are on point, the boosts are perfect, the challenge is perfect, everything about this track is just perfection. I feel like a fucking astronaut driving around this course, and I can play it again and again and again and not get sick of it. The only way this course will be pushed out of the number 1 spot for me now is if they make a Pokemon themed course in Mario Kart 9, whenever that comes out. But for now, 3DS Rainbow Road claims the number 1 spot on this list and in my heart. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. It for sure was a long one. Not only to record, but ranking these tracks in itself was a lot. There are so many banger courses in 8 Deluxe, it was really tough to come up with a solid list. Not to mention I kept switching things around almost every day when I had the list made. But anyways, thanks for sticking around with me through to the end of this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that bell notification as I try to post videos every week. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Because Yoshi value. Yoshi value. Number 56, Thromp. Oh my god. Number 60. Jesus Christ. I just want to read.